Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. We've got some more price reveals. Let's have a look. Where are we? This page. Here we go, guys. I've not seen this yet. I know a few of you probably seen this already. We're going to do it how we do it every day. We're going to go one by one player. Sam Maximan, 6.5 million midfield. I don't actually mind that. Guimaraes, 6 million. I don't know. I think that's slightly overpriced. I think that was slightly overpriced. I know he did score a couple of goals last. Someone said in the chat muted. I know I'm not muted. I checked today. I checked to make sure I wasn't muted today. Nice try though. Yeah, I think that's slightly overpriced. I know he scored a couple of goals at the end of last season, but I don't think his primary objective in the Newcastle team will be to score goals, especially when now Callum Wilson is back. I think. Yeah, 6 million is a little bit too much for me. Like when Pedro Neto is coming in at 5.5, Martinelli's coming in at 6 as well. I don't know. I don't really like that one, guys. I don't really like that one. Sam Maximan's okay though. Wilson's 7.5. I kind of hoped for a 7. There. Yeah. If he came in at 7, I think I'd be seriously tempted, but it's just this recurring theme of forwards being slightly overpriced for no real good reason. Let's just have a look at, before we complete these, let's have a look at Newcastle's fixtures very briefly. So this is the first 5 game weeks. Newcastle are pretty low down. So Nottingham Forest at home, Brighton away, then Man City, Wolves away, and Liverpool away. So there are some tough fixtures there. Good opening fixture. So, as for game week 1 teams, are we going to be going for Wilson at 7.5? Probably not. And here's the rest. Nick Pope. Now that is one I imagine a few of you guys were wondering about. Nick Pope at 5 million for Newcastle. I mean, if it wasn't for some of the other goalkeepers being priced in that region, we would maybe be considering that, but as we all know very well, there are some very, very cheap goalkeepers available in FPL this year. Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Matt Target. Matt Target slightly more expensive at 5. Trippier at 5. Trippier at 5 is not the worst. Willock at 5 is kind of interesting. Joelinton is now listed as a midfielder. Chris Wood is listed as a forward, a 6 million forward. I tell you what, if Chris Wood starts firing, and we know he can score in the Premier League, we know he's good for some goals. Maybe it didn't happen at Newcastle last season, but if things change a little bit, I don't know. Is he going to be starting ahead of Wilson realistically? Is the system going to change? Not really sure. Not 100% sure. But if Wood somehow gets some regular game time, maybe Wilson gets injured, wouldn't be totally surprised. Then 6 million might look like one of the biggest bargains of the century. But yeah, I like Pope at 5 million. I think we'd be more interested in that if it wasn't for certain other goalkeepers being 5 million. Trippier 5 million is probably the pick of the bunch there. I mean, to be fair, sorry, I've got some gunk in my eye. To be fair, to have Burn and Schär at 4.5 million, that's actually not bad. That's pretty decent. Those are good 4.5 million options. Remember, Newcastle were one of the best defences in the whole Premier League second half of last season. So actually, that's pretty nice. Wilson at 7.5 is better than Antonio and Bamford, says DeAndre. And yeah, you are totally right. Wilson at 7.5 is a little bit better. But the problem is fixtures, really, isn't it? Mr. LH says Pope is nailed for me. There you go. Pope straight in. Cassidy says thoughts on the best keeper if Lloris is also 5 million. Yeah, Lloris scored very, very well. Jake Lawrence says Botman to come in though. Oh yeah, that's a good point to be fair. I wonder if that's Because Botman's a left-sided centre-back, isn't he? So is that going to mean that Burn drops out? Because Burn is also a left-sided centre-back. I don't really know. Someone says, is Diego Carlos coming to Newcastle? No, he's already at Aston Villa. Yeah, I don't know. Who's going to start then? Is there any Newcastle fans? Massive, big Newcastle fans in the chat today who can maybe spread some love by telling us what's going to be the situation when Botman comes to Newcastle. Does that mean Burn doesn't play? Or does that mean Cher doesn't play? Maybe someone has an idea. I mean, I think Burn is the better defender. He's probably the better player. And really has played so well for Newcastle last season. So it would be a shame for him to leave, to be honest. It would be a shame for him to leave. Well, I say leave. I mean, leave the starting 11. Yeah, don't know. Maybe we'll have some... Henrik says Cher and Botman for sure. Yeah, that seems sensible, doesn't it? Sharjil says Cher is a central centre-back. Well, Newcastle play with a back four, so Cher is kind of the right centre-back. Mr. Burns and Boatman. Burns and Boatman. That's from Akimbo Never Misses in the chat. Well, you just missed two names. Burn will make way for Botman. Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it? All right. Well, okay, maybe Dan Burn is not an option, but Fabian Cher, possibly. Yeah, Carly says Cher is just too hit and miss, so I prefer Burn to start. I think most people would prefer Burn to start, but Botman is a left-sided centre-back, and Burn is a left-sided centre-back. Ben Gosling in the chat says, Howard said he's not against playing two left-footed centre-backs. So that is to be fair, if we had two left-footed central midfielders, no one would bat an eyelid. But for some reason, two right-footed centre-backs, no one bats an eyelid there. So, to be fair, Burn and Botman, Bernie Bot, could be the combo. If that is the case, Burn at 4.5 million. I'm thinking about it. I mean, that could be better than Tomiyasu. I feel like I trust, particularly now that Newcastle have got Nick Pope. I feel like I trust Newcastle's defence a little bit more than I trust Arsenal's with their 4.5 million defenders. Wolves have 4.5 million defenders. Who else? West Ham. And Brighton as well. They got Lewis Dunk at 4.5. I feel like I trust Newcastle a little bit more than those guys. But there we go. Right, you guys are calling for Chelsea, so let's move on. We'll do Chelsea. And then we'll do West Ham after. All right, we'll do a play-by-play. Mason Mount, 8 million, about right. Kind of what you expect him to be. It would have been nice to have him at 7.5, but also not completely realistic. Weston in the chat has said, what kind of rule changes would these cheap prices mean? Yeah, I will talk about potential rule changes. We'll do that after we've gone through Chelsea and West Ham. And we'll also whiz through the ones from last night as well. But anyway, Mount at 8 million. It's about right. He's not a player who's like a must buy at 8 million, but it's certainly not a bad price for him. James, 6 million, good price. Chilwell, 6 million, good price. Like, these are, like, for those two fullbacks, that is just such a good price. Such a good price for both of them. It's getting a little bit crazy, to be honest, with all of the these high-scoring defenders being priced so temptingly. So temptingly. It's... I mean, 5 at the back is the way. Like, people are going to want to play 3 at the back formations because that has been typically the best formation over the years. The football has changed. The Premier League has changed. And FPL hasn't changed to reflect that. So we've just got these ridiculously cheap, like, fullbacks now. So one of James or Chilwell, I would go for. I would definitely have one of those two. I said definitely. It does depend. To be fair, it does depend. Because the one thing that is kind of interesting is Chelsea might switch to a 4 at the back formation, and if they switch to a 4 at the back formation, that might limit a little bit the fullback's ability to get forward. So, you know, we might not see them in quite as much of attacking positions, attacking capacity as we did last year, but they'll still be very good. So I would probably say one of Chilwell and Reece James are pretty much essential at this point, aren't they? Pretty much essential. One player that is pretty much essential at this point. This is ridiculous. Now, Mendy at 5 million is actually quite mad. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, that is such a good price. I mean, it's so cheap. It is so cheap. Let's go on, like, points last season. I know Mendy wasn't right at the top last season for points. No, he wasn't. He was, 130 points down at... Where is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. So kind of middle of the road, actually. But he did miss a few games. There we go. 1, 2, 3 games missed. 4 games missed. So they're still pretty good. I mean, if you do him like kind of points per game, then it probably puts him up more like 4th, I guess. So, yeah, he's probably like the 4th highest scoring goalkeeper last season in terms of points per game, which is in the region of Alisson, Lloris and Ederson, but you get him for 5 million. Maybe it's not quite as good as Jose Sa. But still for 5 million. And another thing is the fixtures, guys. Like, oh, that's the wrong page. The fixtures for Chelsea: Everton, Spurs, Leeds, Leicester and Southampton. They're really good fixtures as well. So even if you're thinking, all right, I'm not 100% convinced by Mendy, I actually kind of like the look of Nick Pope, then maybe the answer really is to just go for Mendy. Nice, safe, obvious pick for these amazing fixtures at the start of the season. Then when you hit your first wild card, which will probably be around game week 6, 7, 8, when you hit that first wild card, that is at the point where you go for the Newcastle goalkeeper instead. Pretty good. Coach Jord Archie? Not sure. Says, bro, do you ever read our comments? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But man, Mendy. Man, Mendy. 5 million is too good. Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is Mendy as obvious as a pick for the start of the season as I think it is? Or am I wrong? Ollie Horbury says, Alisson, Ederson, Lloris, all looking interesting this year, I feel. I'm never going to advise going for Alisson because the opportunity cost of going for Alisson is just so high because it basically means you have to sacrifice one of Robertson or Luis Diaz, who are so nicely priced, who will score so many points that it really is quite ridiculous. Purely Bayern says, hey, FPL Mate, how is it possible there are so many bargains? Surely there is a catch. And yes, I will be talking about what's going on. Like, I feel like maybe something might be changing, or look, I'll explain my thoughts on this one. We'll go through West Ham, whiz through the other teams, and then I'll talk about potential rule changes that are kind of in my head right now. That I think because you know there's clearly some motivation behind the pricing because everyone is so cheap. Anyway, whizzing through these other players, Azpilicueta at 5 million, we're probably not going to bother with that. Silver at 5.5. I mean, yeah, just spend the extra 0.5 and go for a James or a Chilwell. Hudson-Odoi's probably not going to play. Jorginho, I don't know how much game time is he going to play? Depends. Three-man midfield, I suppose he'll play quite a lot. Pulisic at 6 million. I mean, good price. I mean, if he plays, if Chelsea get an injury or something, and Pulisic starts to play very regularly, then 6 million is actually a bit of a bargain, you know. Havertz 8 million as a forward now. Kind of interesting. I mean, to be fair, that's not the worst. Like, what I expected FPL to do is to do what they do every year, and when a player is a forward, they add 1 million to their price. Havertz was Havertz 8 million last year? Or was he 7.5? Can't remember now. Let's have a look. It was actually 8.5 last year. So they've dropped his price, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing because, you know, he's not like been a top scoring. FPL asset. He's been good to own at the right time. You know, game week 28, for example. I remember I had him on my free hit, I think, on that one. Did I have him on a free hit? Yeah, I did. Had him on a free hit then, which was just insane. It was so good. Yeah, so yeah, not a top scoring player. I guess 8 million is about right. And then Werner at 8 million as a forward. I mean, who's gonna buy that? Who's gonna buy Werner for 8 million? Probably not. I mean, he has dropped in price a little bit as well, to be fair, which I'm glad, but still, 8 million. But what is interesting is that there's not a single Chelsea player. Chelsea, a team third in the Premier League, there's not a single player over 8 million. They've got 3 players at 8 million. But yeah, overall, I mean, certainly Mason Mount is interesting, optional. James is definitely on the radar, so is Chilwell. One of those two, I feel like you've got to have. And then Mendy is like, man. Pretty crazy. Then maybe Havertz at certain points in the season. You're probably not going to start with him game week 1, but at certain points in the season, maybe he's okay. Pulisic at 6 million could potentially be okay. Yeah. Carled says, can we see your draft? I haven't got a draft. It's a blank canvas. Well, I have got a draft, but it's in my brain. I will share that with you in due course. Right, let's whiz through. Where are West Ham? The Mighty Hammers. Now, this one really disappointed me. 8.5 million for Bowen. I say really disappointed. I think 8 million would have been the right price for Bowen. I think at 8.5, it is just that slight bit too expensive, just a tiny bit too expensive. It kind of means that he's not going to be, anywhere near essential. He'll be optional. 8.5 million makes him optional, which I think is good, to be fair. I like the idea of players being optional. West Ham's opening fixtures: Man City, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, Aston Villa and Spurs. Nottingham Forest is a good fixture, and you would say that there is potential for goals in other games there as well. I mean, Bowen has scored well against Man City last season, didn't he? It is just slightly too expensive, 8.5. I don't know if it's enough to put me off entirely. I am still kind of interested. But, it's not a player I'd be, desperate to get. At 8.5, anyway. I would have liked 8. 7.5 would have been a dream, and I would have said he's pretty much essential. 8 million, I would say, yeah, optional. 8.5, it's like, take it or leave it, to be honest, not that bothered. Antonio, 7.5, probably a little bit too expensive. You're going to get so many players around 7.5, 8 million who are going to outscore Antonio vastly, but this is just the situation where FPL creates, where they just pump up the value of forwards for no apparent reason, making forwards non-options this year, once again. Aguerd, I think that's how you say his name. I've not actually heard his name said out loud yet, so yeah, only read his name. Apparently quite good, quite a good little centre back. I don't know if he's 5 million good, especially when you've got players like Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Ben White, Tomiyasu, Lewis Dunk, all coming in at 4.5. It does make Aguerd at 5 million look a little bit less appealing, but apparently he's prone to scoring the odd header. Let's have a look at him on Transfermarkt. Actually, I'll see how good his goal scoring record is, because I've heard he has an okay goal scoring record, but I haven't actually ever looked it up. But yeah, really a highly rated centre back. I think he is going to improve the West Ham defence. Okay, yeah, that's goal every 10 games or something like that. By the looks of things. Yeah, 40 games last season, 4 goals. The season before, 39 games, 3 goals, 1 assist. Okay, so he's kind of 1 goal in 10. You're probably expecting him to score 3 goals in the Premier League, maybe, over the season. But, that's not enough to convince us, is it? Really, I don't think. People asking when the game is going to be released. We don't have any official confirmation on this, but I'm predicting Tuesday. I imagine it will be Tuesday. We'll get the last 5 teams' price reveals tomorrow, And then on Tuesday morning, we might get some more price reveals, some random players, I guess. And Tuesday lunchtime, we'll get the launch. That's just a prediction, though. We'll see, I guess. We will see. Right. Anyway, moving on, because I don't think many people are going to go for Aguerd. Is that how you say it? Aguerd? Screw it. That's fine, isn't it? Right. As for the rest of the boys, so far 4.5, not bad. Is he going to rotate with Johnson a little bit, though? Is Johnson going to start to come into the fold and become the main right back, possibly? Creswell at 5 million is not the worst price, but probably not going to go for him, are you? I mean, to be fair, Creswell has scored quite well in FPL typically, hasn't he? He's done all right for himself, the wee lad. He's got a goal in Game Week 1 last season. And that was it. Oh, he scored 1 there as well. All right. Yeah, the season before he did a little bit better. 11 assists. That's when he was just like peppering set pieces, wasn't it? But 2 goals and 4 assists last season. It's okay. Missed a little bit of game time in the middle of the season. Not enough clean sheets for West Ham though, really. I don't think West Ham are a clean sheet team, really. So, yeah, in general, we're probably not going to go for those defenders. Maybe they're optional, but they're certainly not essential. Rice 5 million, like no one's going to get Rice at 5 million. Let's be real. Fornals 5.5. It's an okay price. Lanzini 5.5. It's an okay price. I think to be fair, I think Fornals, Lanzini, Soucek, even Benrahma, I think they're okay prices. They could be interesting random punts just to hit and hope, I guess. With these guys, there'll be a little bit of rotation between Fornals, Lanzini. Soucek is pretty nailed, but obviously playing a little bit deeper and not quite reaching his numbers last season that he did the season before. Benrahma 6 million. He's probably not even gonna be at the club. He's probably gonna be sold to Brentford. FPL River says, what website did you use when you checked in Aguerd? It is Transfermarkt. I don't know if you can see this very well. Probably not. But where's the? Hang on. I'll put a link. I'll put a link in the chat because I use this website all the time. It's just like the go-to website for football stats. And it's mostly to do with transfer market information. But there's so much information on this website. It's actually mad. I'll put the link in the chat for you there, guys. That is transfermarkt.co.uk. There we go. Back to fantasy. Yeah, okay prices, not essential. Right. We have a few teams that came out last night after I streamed. Not the most interesting ones, but fair enough. We had Fulham, Mitrovic 6.5. I mean, look, we just ain't touching Fulham. We ain't touching Fulham for Liverpool, Wolves, Brentford, Arsenal, Brighton, are we? We're just not. We are just not. Unfortunately. I mean, after that, could be a nice option. Wilson 6 million. It's a little bit expensive. Like I understand that Wilson did very well in the Championship last season, but we're talking about having like Fornals, Lanzini, Pedro Neto, all at 5.5 million. So if you're going to put those guys at 5.5 million, I don't see how you can put Harry Wilson the same price as Martinelli and players like that. It seems, newly promoted team, going to be a relegation threatened team, a team trying to avoid relegation. I think you kind of have to reduce the prices. And this is kind of a bit of the problem. I'll talk about it in a minute. But the pricing is, like I said, I'll talk about it in a minute. We've got Decadova Reed, 5.5 million midfielder. It's all right. I remember he was a bit of a FPL legend, actually. Let's have a look. Let's have a look on Transfermarkt. Let's zoom out so you guys can see a little bit better. Okay. So, let's have a look at some of his stats. Because I don't know how well he did last season. I know Wilson did well for assists. Mitrovic smashed it for goals. Hang on, I need to sneeze. Always at least one sneeze per stream. That's like the rule. Okay, 8 goals, 7 assists in the Championship. It's not bad, to be fair. It's not bad. Played a lot of games, a lot of football. Who's listed as a midfielder this season? Yeah, he did play in midfield all of last season, so that makes sense. But I remember historically, he was always listed as a forward in FPL, even though he didn't play as a forward, which was always kind of weird. Okay, so this was the last time he was in the Premier League. He scored 5 goals and got 3 assists. And I think, didn't he play in the Premier League for another team? What was it, Cardiff? I made that up. I'm sure he played for some other team. Yeah, Cardiff. Yeah, in the 18-19 season, 5 goals, 2 assists. As listed as a forward there. I think he played a little bit further forward there, to be fair. Yeah, don't know if he's quite the player he once was, but you never know. You never know. It could be one of those sneaky, cheeky ones. But again, 5.5 million midfielder, who are you going to go for? Decadova-Reid or Pedro Neto? It's so obvious. So obvious, which is a shame. Again, another thing with these prices. Did he not play for Newcastle, says Harry? I don't know, did he? No, he didn't play for Newcastle. He played for Fulham and Cardiff in the Premier League. By the looks of things. Okay, yeah. Rodak at 4.5 million. Probably not going to go for him. Ream, Tete, Tosin, Kenny. Oh, wait. Let's just stay with the defenders for a minute. Ream, Tete and Tosin. That's... it's 4.5 million for a defender. That's what you expect. You expect these defenders to be 4.5 million. That is normal. That is standard. The problem is, what are you going to do? Are you going to pick a newly promoted 4.5 million midfielder? Or are you going to pick a midfielder defender? Or are you going to pick a 4.5 million defender who plays for Arsenal? Or Newcastle? Or a newly promoted relegation struggle team that's going to concede a load of goals? By pricing Ben White, Tomiyasu, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn, Lewis Dunk, Johnny, Nori, those are ones I can think of at the top of my head, all at 4.5 million, you basically just decide that Ream, Tete and Tosin are just not going to be... they're just not options. No one's ever going to pick those players, which is a shame, because you want every player in FPL to be an option. That's kind of where I think they should be heading. I don't think they will, but I certainly think that would make things more exciting if every single player was an option, a player we could potentially consider, a player that you could make a case for buying. But I can't make a case for buying any of those defenders. I really can't. I really, really can't. Giandre says, depends how the defence is. Brentford did pretty well last season. Yes, they did, but are you going to pick, even if they performed at Brentford levels, who are you going to go for? A Brentford level defender? Or an Arsenal or a Newcastle or a Wolves? You're still not really left with a choice there. Kearney 5 million, Cavallero 5 million, Cabano 5.5 million, Muniz 5.5. I don't know much about this Muniz chap. Is he a new signing? Maybe I should have done a bit of Fulham research before the stream. I've got over a month. We've got over a month to do research on all of these teams. Yeah, don't know much about Muniz. Is he? Yeah, maybe some Fulham fans can enlighten us in the chat. Yeah, but I mean, generally speaking, not too much going on here. I mean, to be fair, it's a newly promoted team. We weren't expecting to go for a lot of Fulham players. I think the only Fulham players we were probably really thinking about were Mitrovic, maybe Wilson at a push. Wilson at 6 million is a little bit annoying. But, before any prices were released, I would have probably said 6 million was about right. But the prices are cheap. Mitrovic, 6.5 million is about right. It is about right. It's a good price. I would much rather have him than, a Bamford or maybe even a Callum Wilson, to be honest, at 7.5. I'd much rather go for the 6.5 Mitrovic. Just not straight away at the beginning of the season. Just wait till those bad fixtures are out of the way, I guess. Aston Villa we had yesterday as well. Coutinho 7 million. I don't know if he gets enough FPL points. I know he's a wonderful, wonderful player, but he was really quite... I mean, he had a couple of good, really good game weeks where he just like smashed it in terms of goals and assists. And people remember those high points, but they don't remember the like 15 two-pointers he got. He got like 3 double-digit hauls last season and like 15 two-pointers. Something like that. Anyway, let's have a look just to confirm that. Because I think it's important we do stay realistic and not get too caught up in the romance of Coutinho. So, yeah, okay. So, he got obviously 6 points there in the cameo appearance. But in terms of big hauls, he got 3 amazing hauls. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of which were all in a row. And I think it's just important that we remember that. So 7 million for a lot of blanks. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I want to go in on him at 7 million. I mean, if you want to go for him, maybe. It won't be in my first... It won't be in my game week 1 team, I don't think. Watkins 7.5. Probably about right. Like I say, I would prefer him to be 7, just so you can compete with some of the midfielders in terms of points potential and compete with some of the defenders in terms of points per buck. You know, bang for your buck. It doesn't offer it really at 7.5 million. Mate Cash 5 million is a good price. It's a good price. Probably expected, but yeah, very nice. Like that one. I think optional. I genuinely think optional. Quick look at Aston Villa's fixtures. They're okay. Bournemouth, Everton to start off, very nice, but then kind of goes a little bit downhill. Crystal Palace, West Ham, Arsenal. So I think it could be worth going for an Aston Villa player. I would be, very much open to having an Aston Villa player, and if I was to go for one, Matty Cash at 5 million is not a bad shout. Not a bad shout at all. I think Digne comes at the same price, doesn't he? Digne. Martinez 5 million to be expected, I suppose. Diego Carlos 5 million. I mean, you're not going to go for Diego Carlos when you can get a Cash or a Digne for 5 million as well. Kamara 5 million. You're not going to go for a defensive midfielder. McGinn kind of as a number 8 type player. But Ramsey's also going to be a number 8 type player. Ramsey at 5.5 is a okay price. I think that's quite nice. Quite like that one. Buendia 6 million. I think the problem with Buendia is I think there's going to be a little bit of rotation there. Him and Bailey and Ings. So it's what it will be in the Aston Villa lineup. They'll play a 4-3-3. It will be probably Martinez in goal, Digne left, Diego Carlos left centre-back, Konsa right centre-back, so no Mings, Cash right back, 3-man midfield of Kamara holding, which means Douglas Luiz is either leaving the club or not going to get very much game time. So those of you guys eyeing up 4.5 million Douglas Luiz, not really feeling it. And then ahead of Kamara in the 2 central midfield positions, the number 8 positions, if you will be McGinn and Ramsey. Both coming in at 5.5, which is okay prices. They're okay prices. And then going up front, it will be a bit more flexible. So Watkins probably plays every single game as striker. Coutinho plays on the left. And then that third slot will be a mix between Buendia and they'll move to a 2 central forwards and an attacking midfielder and Coutinho behind, or maybe Watkins kind of drifts off to the right maybe. And then in other games, they'll play Buendia on that right wing position. In other games, they'll play Bailey in that right wing position. So, yeah, I think Buendia and Ings, are, just because of the rotation, probably not going to be the players to go for until or unless we start seeing some trends in terms of, regular minutes for certain players, change of system, injuries, creating different things. Basically, it's going to be difficult to have those kind of players in your team. And I think that's us all caught up, isn't it? And did we do Wolves yesterday? Maybe, I can't remember if we did Wolves yesterday or not. Or did we do... Oh, no, we did do Wolves yesterday. All right, so we'll leave that one there. Bro, Newcastle, quickly, please. I already did Newcastle at the beginning of the stream. You can scroll back. If you're watching, you can watch the stream not live if you want. You can scroll back in the video and have a look at that way. But there we go. That's all of the prices we are caught up on. Now, I'm going to make my draft. And as I'm making my draft, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of these prices. Because as I'm building a team, you'll kind of understand exactly what I mean in terms of building a team. So there is a problem. That I say problem. I don't know if it is necessarily a problem. Some people will like this, and some people won't like this. But we've got a situation where a lot of the top players in the league are listed with ridiculously cheap prices, which is quite mad. For example, you know, Trent is still at 7.5, Robertson is still at 7, which means we're definitely going to be getting those players. Defenders are better value than ever before. Salah at 13 million, to be fair, it is expensive, don't get me wrong, but with the situation we've got right now, you can save money elsewhere so easily. Goalkeepers have gone down in price. Mendy for 5 million is such an easy buy. Such an easy buy. Haaland at 11.5, such a good cheap price. We've got all of these 4.5 million defenders. Tomiyasu, Ben White. I keep mentioning the same names over and over again, but they are really just so cheap. It is quite mad. Man City players haven't really changed price. Aside from Cancelo, all of the other defenders are the same price despite all the clean sheets they get. They haven't adjusted in terms of how many points they get in a season. I mean, let's look last season, man. In terms of the most high-scoring players, in the top, 20 or whatever, we've got Trent, Cancelo, Robertson, Van Dijk, Matip, Laporte. All top-scoring players, massively outscoring midfielders and forwards at a similar price. I mean, outscoring them by a ridiculous amount, which pretty much forces us to have at least four defenders. Like, if you are going with less than 4 defenders, if you're going for a three defender formation, he's just not the one. Like, there's so much better value in the defense at the moment, and I think because of that, it's making our FPL teams seem really cheap and seem like you can get everyone because we're going for more defenders than before. Typically, we would be having 3 defenders, 4 or 5 midfielders, and 2 or 3 forwards. That's how you typically start an FPL season with that kind of formation. The 3-4-3 or the 3-5-2 formation were by far and wide the most popular FPL formations for the last, forever. That's just the way it's always been. And because defenders were the cheap players, because you're only having 3 of them, you only got 3 cheap players and the rest of your team is very, very expensive. But because we're now going for 4 defenders, 5 defenders, it just frees up so much money. It's quite mad. I think that's kind of, I just think it's a bit of oversight, really. By the FPL, unless there's rule changes, unless there's other motivations, it could just be oversight where FPL have not really considered that more people are going to be moving towards more defender-heavy formations, and therefore, that affects everything. That affects everything, which is quite wild. Let's complete this defense with Perisic, although I'm not fully sure. I probably will have James or Chilwell in my team. I'm not 100% sure yet. I've got Mendy there to cover for now, but let's put Perisic in for now. But yeah, I'm flexible on that. We're not decided. I'm just making a random template. I say random. What I believe to be a pretty good team. But what you'll notice immediately with this team, let's just stick in that, is we've got a situation here whereby... Oh, wait. No, I need a defender. We've got a situation whereby you can make an entire team just using the big six. All of your players, you know, you can go triple Liverpool, you can go triple Chelsea, you can go triple City and still have enough money left over to fill the rest of your team with Spurs, Arsenal, Man United, because the players are so cheap. And it's ridiculous. Like, why is Tomiyasu and Ben White the same price as Fulham defenders? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They should not be the same price. The big teams' players are so cheap. I should not be able to have a team whereby I have Mendy in goal, a defence of Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Laporte and Perisic. I've still got enough money to go for Salah, Mount, Martinelli and Neto. And then I've still got enough money for Haaland and like the best player to ever play in Belgium. And then still got enough money for Tomiyasu on the bench. It is bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. And there's different theories on why this might be. Now, one thing is the potential for rules to be changed. And I know people are thinking, that the reason why all the players are so cheap is because there's going to be some rule changes. And the rule changes that people are kind of throwing about are potentially the fact that we're maybe going to have an extra player on the bench, basically. So right now, we have a squad of 15 players. But what could happen is that we actually end up having a squad of 16 players. 5 subs. Throwing it back to the days where we had where football teams had 5 subs in real life. So it could be benches, an extra player in your squad, and have 1 goalkeeper on the bench and 4 outfield players on the bench. If that was the case, then it would be quite strange, because it would mean that what seems like a really cheap, a really easy team to ascertain, it becomes actually quite difficult to get. Like, if I know it doesn't seem like much, but if I take away, if I have to find another, I've got 1.5 in the bank on this team. If I had to find another 3 million to get 1 more player in my squad, then I would have to make a sacrifice, and suddenly my team wouldn't look so good. Because 3 million is a lot of money at the beginning of the game. A lot of money at the beginning of the game. So, yeah, that could be a possibility. Extra player. I don't think that would be the case, personally. Another option, another possibility is what we could have is a situation. I don't know if any of you guys have played either UCL Fantasy or Euros Fantasy or World Cup Fantasy, whereby you can actually you can sub players in and out. Well, not in and out. You can sub players in a play. So I don't know how to explain this easily because it's quite an awkward rule to explain. But okay, for example, we're in game week 1, and I've got my 11 players all play on the Saturday. And then my 3 bench players all play on the Sunday. So on the Saturday, we'll see how well my first 11 players do. And if one of them only scores 1 point, I will substitute them out for one of my players playing on the Sunday to kind of second roll of the dice, see how well they do. And there'll be live substitutions throughout the game. Now, if they were to do live substitutions throughout the game, what that will mean is that the bench will be much more valuable and you should be spending more money on your bench. Again, having a really good team will be a little bit harder because you'll be forced to spend money on your bench, forced to buy 2 playing goalkeepers, forced to have your whole bench playing, because right now on my bench, Olsen's not going to get any game time, Greenwood's not going to get very much game time, Romeo is going to score 2 points a game. But if we had a rolling bench rule where you could sub your bench options in and out during the game week, then I would be forced to turn Romeo into a 5.5 million midfielder. I'd be forced to upgrade Olsen to a 4.5 million goalkeeper. I'd be forced to upgrade Greenwood to at least a 5.5 million forward. And that's kind of the situation. FPL Aiden says, when Man City released their prices on their website, they said you had to choose up to 15 players with a budget of 100 million, so I highly doubt that. Yeah, I know, I saw that. But honestly, I'm not really reading into that too much. I'm not reading into that too much because, you know, there's no particular reason for Man City to even know the full rules. They probably just wrote down whatever the rules were last season. So either ignorance or a mistake on Man City's part on that. Or I'm just saying it could be. It very much could be. So I'm not. Look, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think it's going to be a squad of 16 players. I'm just mentioning it as a possibility. But I certainly would not be using that Man City price reveal, website post as evidence to suggest it wouldn't be. Again, with the rolling subs rule, I don't really think I don't really think that's going to be the case either, because I think that FPL want to keep the game as simple as possible. And if we had rolling substitutions where we can use in-play substitutions, I don't know how to quite define them. I guess in-play substitutions, then that would make the game a little bit more complicated. It would require that people, spend more time thinking about it, and that is going to be quite a challenge for a lot of people. I know us guys, we probably wouldn't mind it so much. We probably would be fine with it. We probably think it was kind of fun. But for most people playing FPL, people who play a little bit more casually, not as intensely, they probably just want to, they just want to set their team at the beginning of the week, check the scores after, and that be it. They don't want to have to be checking in play, making substitutions in play. And the problem is, and this happens with people all the time, and this is why people stop playing FPL during the season, is if they make one mistake, they give up. If they make a couple of mistakes, they give up. So if they forget to do their live substitutions, and it's quite demanding to expect people to do live substitutions, like during a game week, you've got to make a little bit of effort there. If you forget to do it for a couple of weeks, and all of your friends are doing it, then you're gonna give up. If you're a casual player, anyway. So again, I don't think you really have to do that. People asking why no Cancelo. We could put Cancelo in there if you want. We've got enough money. I was just making a random draft. I say random draft. I was just making kind of a rough, good draft. But yeah, Cancelo can go in there if you like. I probably won't end up with Cancelo, to be honest, but it does depend on other transfers, to be honest. I want to see if Cucurella signs for Man City. If he does, I'm probably going to go without Cancelo and downgrade him to a Laporte, to be honest. But anyway, this website I'm using is called FPL.team. That is the website. So if you want to just make a draft, they've got lots of predictive prices on there. It's a bit of fun. And yeah, if people keep asking, I'm not going to keep saying what the website is over and over again. So if anyone asks in the chat, guys, you can let them know, let everyone know that it's FPL.team. But anyway, back to why prices are so cheap. So yeah, in terms of rule changes, I think the two most realistic potential rule changes are an extra player in your squad. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I don't think that's actually going to happen, really. I'd say that's like a 1% chance of that happening. Very, very unlikely. And the other option is potentially we get a situation where there's rolling subs. In which case, I can see that happening a little bit more. I would still say it's very unlikely. I'd say there's like a 10% chance of us seeing a rolling subs rule introduced. Not very high. Not very high. Tyler E says, how about Ericsson instead of Neto if he stays at Brentford? Depends on his price, really, doesn't it? Depends if he stays at Brentford as well. Lots of ifs and buts there. Jandre says, Cancelo down, Martinelli to Diaz/Mahrez. I'm not going to have Diaz because I've got Robertson. I'm already tripled up here. Mahrez, I'm not going to get fooled into that one. Of course, as we've been letting them know about the website, Dan, over and over again. Can it be added to future descriptions? No, you don't get free promo on FPL Mate channel. If they want me to put it, no, I would be setting a pretty bad precedent, for potential sponsorships if I did free adverts for money making businesses. Like, there's no problem doing it for content, like advertising other content creators and charitable stuff. But yeah, I don't really want to set a bad precedent in terms of promoting businesses. But yeah, no, I appreciate their website and I'm happy to give it a shout out. I just don't want to go too hard on heavily pushing it to people because people might think I'm associated with them, which I'm not. And I'm not getting paid. And I don't want people thinking I am. Anyway. Another possibility is that we're not getting any rule changes, and that's far more likely. The far more likely situation is there's going to be no rule. I mean, first of all, guys, if you've got any suggestions of other rule changes you think might be coming into play that might have something to do with all of the cheap players, then let me know in the comments and in the chat. I'd like to hear some of your opinions on what potential rule changes we might see coming. Christian asks for Undav's price. It's 5.5 million. Really good, really nice. He's one of the, well, him and Haaland are the only two forwards who I've seen their price and actually thought, yeah, that's very nice. That's quite nice, isn't it? Anyway, the far more likely scenario as to why we have such cheap players is because FPL want to appeal to, more casual football fans, expand their audience. At the end of the day, and I don't know if it's the same with you guys, probably not, but the majority of people don't care about Brighton. They don't care about Wolves. They don't care about Fulham. They don't care about Nottingham Forest. They don't care about these teams. They don't want to watch these teams. They don't want to engage with these teams. They don't want to think about the players from these teams. They want to ignore the fact that those teams even exist. All they care about is Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, and Manchester United. Those 6 teams, that's all they care about, and they are not going to engage, and they are a bit more likely to engage with FPL if they can just pick players from those 6 teams. They don't want to pick players from other. They don't want to have to think about players from, Wolves. They don't want to think about a Pedro Neto or a Dennis Undav. They don't care. They just want to pick from. They just want to have their Liverpool players. They want to have all of their top favourite players that they know well. It's just It's just this sorry, sad state that unfortunately we live in. Whereas if you want to appeal to the masses, you have to make a game as accessible as possible, and you can make a game very accessible by basically neglecting the small teams. And it's kind of true. It's kind of true. I mean, a lot of people who play FPL probably have never heard of Nottingham Forest in their life. They've never even heard of the club. I know you guys are going to say that's ridiculous. How can no one have heard of Nottingham Forest? But if you want to reach a wider audience, you want to grow a game, the lowest common, you have to appeal to the lowest common denominator, the person who knows the least about football and fantasy games. You have to appeal to the bottom tier. And as the game expands and expands and expands, the floor gets lower and lower and lower. And you start appealing to people who have only heard of Manchester United and Man City and Arsenal and haven't even heard of Wolves. And that will be a situation. There will be a lot of people playing FPL and people who FPL want to appeal to who haven't heard of these other teams. And maybe in a way, because FPL, remember, is a marketing tool from the Premier League. That's the way it makes money. It generates, pushes people towards the Premier League as a product. And maybe it's to coax people in with cheap prices. I know this is all sounding a little bit seedy, isn't it? They coax people in by allowing them to select all of these cheap players from teams they know, teams they understand. And then maybe they can slowly introduce people to some other teams and get people more interested in other teams slowly after that. So they kind of use these cheap, big players as a kind of a hook and sinker, and eventually maybe it will convert people to enjoying the other Premier League teams. Because remember, Fantasy Premier League is a money, it's a marketing thing. The whole premise of the official Fantasy Premier League whole thing is just to market the Premier League and make the Premier League as a product more appealing and get people watching more Premier League and engaging with more Premier League, which is good. I mean, I'm happy for that to happen. But if this is the way they're doing it, and kind of sullying the game a little bit, kind of not, I don't want to say ruining the game, but kind of forcing people towards certain players, it's kind of it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But I mean, some people like that. I personally would rather every player be like kind of like what I was saying earlier. I'd rather every player be optional. I would rather there be an argument to go for a Fulham defender because they're priced in a nice way. I want there to be an argument that genuinely says maybe I'm going to go for, who's a random player. I want an argument to say I might go for. Let's just think of a random defender from a newly promoted team. What's a Bournemouth defender? Mefan, is he going to play? Kelly. All right, Lloyd Kelly. I want there to be an argument to say I'm going to go for Lloyd Kelly ahead of Cancelo. I want there to be an argument. I know that kind of sounds a bit strange, but I want us to be able to say, all right, I could go for Cancelo, but because Lloyd Kelly is so much cheaper than Cancelo, maybe I can use the money elsewhere. And I want there to be a discussion there. But right now, no one is ever going to pick Lloyd Kelly in their fantasy team. Ever. He's a complete non-option. And what we've got is because we've got all of these players at such cheap prices, is you create hundreds and hundreds of non-options. We get into a situation where, I mean, how many players are there in the Premier League? How many football players? Maybe I can work it out by going by page. Okay, so this is from last season. So 25 pages. How many players per page, roughly? 1, 2, 3. Can I be bothered to count? I think it looks like 20 or maybe 30. Okay, so 30 times 25. Anyone got a calculator out, or anyone? Any brainiacs? Any smart people in chat? All right, I'll work it out. I'll do a calculator. All right, that's 750. Okay, maybe it's not quite that many. Maybe there's 500 players in the Premier League. Say there's 500 players in the Premier League, but in FPL, only 50, 60 of them are options. So only 10% of the total amount of players in fantasy are even optional. And it could be even less, which is quite crazy. Look at you guys. 750, 750, 750. Yeah. But yeah, do you kind of get my point? And that's the thing I don't quite like. And people will say, oh, all of these cheap players means there'll be more variation. I don't think there will really. I don't think there'll be very much variation at all. I mean, everyone's going to have Trent. Everyone's going to have Salah. People are going to have one of Robertson or Diaz. That's going to be one battle, I suppose. A lot of people are going to have at least one. Well, everyone's going to have at least one Man City defender. A lot of people are going to have Perisic, Chilwell, James. Loads of people. So many people are going to have Mendy. We're going to see so many players at like 50% ownership. That's the wrong way. That's the wrong way. Ashley J says 2 players per club rule. That's kind of interesting. 2 players per club could be interesting if they change the rule that way and would mix things up a little bit. Lunny says, never understood why they don't have starting prices at 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 instead of just 0.5 million gaps. Could make more interesting for Nottingham Forest players playing defenders. Sorry, I'm butchering this. You're making a fantastic point though. Basically, your point is why not price, Tomiyasu at 4.6 and Lloyd Kelly at 4.3, and then suddenly we've got a choice to make. I know it makes it a little bit more complicated, particularly in terms of people trying to work it out and work out the mathematics of it a little bit, which is I kind of understand. I do kind of understand why they do it in increments of 0.5 because, again, not everyone playing FPL will be, highly educated. What you might consider simple maths is not necessarily simple maths to someone else. And you do have to keep the game open and, appealing for all. So, yeah, it would be nice. In my ideal world in FPL, every single player is at roughly, well, maybe not every single player, but most players are like between 5% owned and 20% owned. This is going to be a real unpopular opinion. But if a player is at 50% ownership, 60% ownership, 70% ownership, it's because they're too cheap. If a player's at 40% ownership, it's because they're too cheap. If the player's at 30% ownership, they're probably a little bit too cheap. If a player is at 0.0001% ownership, it's because they're too expensive. You know, like, we are going to see players like lovely boy Kelly. I mean, I wish I had a nice picture of him. Great defender, but he plays for Bournemouth. But I want him to be an option. But he's going to be at 0.00001% ownership in game week 1, which means he is too expensive. That's a fact. Why not give these players? If you're going to give Tomiyasu and Lewis Dunk and Ben White, Kilman, Aït-Nouri, Byrne, Cher, if you're going to give these players a price of 4.5 million, you need to give Bournemouth defenders, Fulham defenders, you need to give them 4 million price tags. And then at that point, where do the 4 million price points go? Well, I guess they have to go down to 3.5 if they're like non-playing defenders. So that doesn't really work, which basically says that the prices are too cheap. That's pretty much it, you know. Alan says then Salah should be 30 mil. If Salah was 15 million, if Salah was 15 million in FPL, you would not hear me complaining. You actually would not hear me complaining at all. People would go crazy. And that's why they haven't done it, because, you know, the masses would not like that. But I would not be complaining, because what it would just mean is that we'll have so much variation of whether some people will think it's worth it, some people will think it's not worth it, and the debate will be there to be had. But right now, there's pretty much no debate to be had. Like, Salah at 13 million is an absolute shoo-in, and I feel like anyone who is going against that is just trying too hard to be different. Mark Nash says, so we're now playing Fantasy Super League then, dispiriting. I agree, and that's kind of exactly the point. That's kind of the point that I'm making, and I think that's what they want it to be. They want it to be Fantasy Super League, because that's more appealing to the masses. It's just more appealing to the masses. Murray says Salah would have 15% ownership at 15 million. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he would be still at like 20%, 25%. But I mean, that's better than, like, Salah could go into game week 1 with 70% ownership off the bat, which would be a record, the most ever ownership of a game week 1 player. That would be a record. Even at like 60, 65%, it would still be a record, and it's going to be broken. Come the game week 1 deadline, Salah is going to be at 70% ownership. It's going to be ridiculous. That's because he's too cheap. Alexander-Arnold is going to be at 70% ownership because he's too cheap. Haaland is going to be at 40% ownership, 50% ownership because he's too cheap. Martinelli will be at 30%, 40% ownership because he's too cheap. Mendy will be at 50% ownership because he's too cheap. Tomiyasu and Ben White, 25% ownership because they're too cheap. Do you get kind of where I'm going with this? A lot of people seem to think that we're going to see a more variation. I think we're going to see less variation, if I'm honest, which is not what I want. I want to have. What I enjoy about FPL is trying to find those players who are, hidden gems. Like, a Dennis Undav, for example. I know us guys probably wouldn't say Undav is a hidden gem, but to most people, he very much is a hidden gem. To 99% of FPL players, they will have no clue who Dennis Undav is, why he's so good, why he's such a good price at 5.5 million. And I like finding those gems, and I want there to be more of those gems, but I can't afford to go for more gems if there's a Tomiyasu at 4.5 staring me in the face, if there's an Alexander-Arnold at 7.5 or a Robertson at 7 million staring me in the face, and Mendy at 5 million. I mean, it's kind of made I do like how they've made the goalkeepers the premium goalkeepers a little bit cheaper, because it does throw them back into the conversation a little bit. But Mendy at 5 million basically means, like, what other goalkeeper are you going to go for? it's Mendy at 5 million. It's kind of written out so many players. I mean, it's kind of written off Ramsdale, it's written off Martinez. It's arguably written off Pope, to be honest. So it's going to write off Pickford if he comes in at 5 million. It's going to write off Schmeichel if he comes in at 5 million. It kind of destroys other players. And yeah, just an example. But yeah. Yeah, I feel like everyone's going to have a similar team. You're kind of forced to. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is just a game. It's still going to be fun. We're still all going to have loads of fun playing. I'm so excited to get started. But yeah, I just think that is probably the best explanation possible I can give as to why players' prices seem so cheap. Maybe it would be a more fun game if we had more variation and had more decisions to make, rather than FPL basically making the decisions for us. But hey, if more people are playing FPL, if more people are more tempted to get involved in FPL, that's okay with me, and I'm completely happy for the game to be accessible. It may be not what I would personally choose as to how I'd like to play the game, but it's not all about me. It's not all about any of us individually. It's about what most people want, and that's the direction that the game should go with. A democracy, an FPL democracy. Yeah, there we go. What were people saying in the chat? Let's answer some questions. I don't think I'm going to go for... Shall we go for 2 hours today? Problem is, what happens every time is I run out of things to say and start waffling. I mean, I've arguably already started doing that. We've got almost an hour until the next price reveal. Leon Mulligan said, be great if we started with 95 million. I can't see that happening. 100 is just the perfect, nice round number, isn't it? If they were gonna start with 95 million, then they should have not done that and just made the players more expensive and stay with 100 million. Nicholas said they should just put 1 million on every player from the top 6. Yeah, top 6 players should come as a premium. You should have to pay extra to pick players from top teams. I agree, and certainly a little bit more than Trent at 7.5. I mean, my word, 7.5 million for Trent. Such a bargain. Last season, points, third highest point scorer for 7.5 million. Bowen's 8.5. Cancelo's 7. De Bruyne is 12 this year. Kane's probably going to come in at 12 as well. If we're ignoring some of the other good defender prices like Robertson, which is insane value, Van Dijk is insane value. Maddison will be 8 million. Wait, have they done Leicester yet? No, they haven't. Maddison will be 8 million. Saka we know is 8 million. Jota is 9 million. Mount is 8 million. Sterling is 10 million. Ronaldo is 11.5 million, something like that. Ward-Prowse will probably be 7 million. And all of these players, pretty much all of these players, are more expensive, much more expensive than Alexander-Arnold and Robertson at 7.5 and 7 million respectively. Which just makes them essential. It is quite crazy. Oh, I thought of another potential rule change that might happen to make this all kind of work out a little bit more. And that is maybe player prices will be a little bit more dynamic. If player prices were a little bit more dynamic and players went up in value and down in value a little bit quicker, then maybe that might fix what we perceive as a lot of really cheap prices. Because if prices whiz up really quickly, we see players go up 0.3, 0.4 million in the space of a week, then that could be kind of interesting. And that kind of balances it a little bit, whereby you hook people in with the cheap prices and you get them to continually play with some more balanced, ever-changing prices, which I would be fine with, to be honest. FPL Rev, what's up, Mikey? Thank you so much for the super chat, dude, as well. Nice draft, mate. You're going to brave the FOMO of James and Chilwell. I'll be watching Chelsea from behind a pillow every week. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to have a James or a Chilwell. I've mentioned this a few times, but it's going to be largely dependent on Chelsea's formation going into the new season. If it looks like in pre-season they're playing all their games with a 4 at the back, I think I would be willing to go without them, especially if it means going for a Perisic or a Cancelo ahead of them, or a Laporte ahead of them maybe. And just going for Mendy as the goalkeeper. But if they continue with the 5 at the back / 3 at the back formation, then yeah, it's going to be very difficult to go without James and Chilwell. But I'm open. If they're a 4 at the back formation, I'm open to going without them. But, I mean, without going for a 5 at the back, like, I don't even know how I would do this. Like, I guess what we could do is just go for a 5 at the back. If we downgrade Cancelo to Laporte, because I do think I probably will end up doing that, and then go to, like, I don't know, Tomiyasu. Can I afford to go to Chilwell? I can. Or Reece James. We'll put Chilwell in for now, but, you know, it could easily be Reece James. Something like that. You know, in fact, no, I'm going to put James in because otherwise everyone in the chat is going to say, why have you gone for James over Chilwell? Why have you gone for Chilwell over James? Isn't James a better option? Whereas I don't think it's so likely for people to speak the other way. Even though I don't think there's much in it. People will say, why are you going for Chilwell over James? But they will never say, why are you going for James over Chilwell? Funny one, that. But yeah, that's a 5 at the back draft. That is a serious amount of money spent in the defence, which allows me to put Undav actually on the bench. And maybe I'll rotate him with a Martinelli or a Neto and just rotate between those 3 players. So some game weeks I'll play like this. Some game weeks I'll play like this. Some game weeks I'll play like this. We'll mix it up. We'll mix and match. Yeah, I can see myself doing something like that. But 5 at the back is a little crazy. And it does leave you a little bit stuck. It leaves no money in the bank as well. Ooh. Ian Hackett says James isn't going to be 6 probably. He already is. We already know. This is what I'm saying. But the players are so cheap. The players are so cheap. 6 million for James. 6 million for Chilwell. We don't know Perisic yet, but he's predicted at 6. Laporte at 6. Cancelo at 7. Robertson 7. Alexander-Arnold 7.5. It's mad. Mount could possibly change here, but I kind of like him. Kinda like him. But yeah, I'd say in this team, Mount is probably the most at risk. But yeah. Yes. That's a pretty nice team, to be fair. It's a pretty nice team. All right, what's the next price reveal? Let's remind ourselves. So the way I'll remind you guys as well, the way they're doing it. So what they are doing is they are doing 5 a day, and they're going in multiples of 5 through. Well, wait, no, not multiples of 5, really, is it? I mean, kind of yes and no, but they're going in 5s basically. So day 1 was City, Arsenal. Whoa, no, right? So they're going up in 4. I hate maths. Right, like day 1, they went Man City, Arsenal, Brighton, Brentford, Leeds. Day 2, Liverpool, then Man United, then Wolves, then Aston Villa, and then the first promoted team, which is Fulham. Which means today, Chelsea, we had that first. Then we had West Ham. Then we had Newcastle. Then we've got Southampton next. Bit boring. Don't think too many people are interested in Southampton, if I'm honest. And then finally, it'll be the second promoted team, which will be Bournemouth. So Bournemouth will be the last one at 6 p.m. UK time. Which means tomorrow we'll have at 10 a.m. Tottenham. At midday, where are we? After Tottenham, it'll be Leicester, and then Crystal Palace, and then Everton, and finally Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest will be the final price reveal at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And then game release on Tuesday, inshallah. It's going to happen. Tessuela Pele. Oh, I butchered your name. Maybe English isn't my favourite subject either. Tessuela Pele. I'm so sorry. Tessuela Pele says, Dan, I can see maths was not your favourite subject at school. It wasn't. I hated it. I got an A in maths though. I never understand how I got an A in maths. I must be good at it, but I just hate it. Yeah. FPL Rev says tomorrow's the one we're all waiting for. Everton. Yeah, if you say so. If you say so. Thoughts on Kulusevski? I worry a little bit about Kulusevski. With Richarlison signing, surely there's got to be a bit of rotation there. Because Richarlison hasn't arrived at Spurs for 50 million or whatever it is to sit on the bench, has he? Leo is good, says, don't say boring, could be bargains. Yeah, but I don't just want bargains at the big teams. I want bargains everywhere. Sean Burke says, aren't you your chat man? Who's my chat man? I don't have a chat man. Dally Paul says, how do you think 5-sub rule will affect FPL this season? Well, we'll essentially make the bench worthless. Because, usually the reason you have bench players is so that they sub in situations where where your starting 11 don't play. But, for example, if I get Martinelli on the bench, he doesn't start, and I'm crying because my Martinelli isn't starting. It's not going to be a case where Undav is going to come on to replace him. That's not going to happen because Martinelli, because there's so many subs to be used, Martinelli will come off the bench at some point, even if it's just for 1 minute. It's going to make the bench pointless, pretty much. Not completely pointless, but certainly nowhere near as valuable as last year. We haven't got COVID to contend with anymore. We've got a situation where you're starting 11, even if they don't start, they are probably, if they're players who play regularly anyway, they're probably going to come off the bench and get some minutes at the very least. The only situation where you'd ever use your bench is if there was an injury that you don't know about. But us guys who really engage with fantasy content anyway know about all of the injuries, so that's never really going to be a situation. So the bench is pretty much pointless. I would say, we do this every year to be fair, but I would say, reiterate as we do every year, don't spend money on your bench. You don't need to. You don't need a backup goalkeeper. You don't need, your third forward should be a 4.5 million forward, no doubt. Your bench, if you have a defender on your bench, 4.5 million, no more. If you've got a midfielder on your bench, 4.5 million, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So don't spend money on the bench. Now, another way it could affect FPL is in terms of locking in clean sheet points. So, there might be defensive subs later on in the game. So we might see players like Robertson, for example, or Laporte, or, anyone you see on your screen now. Trent, Robertson, Laporte, Perisic, James, whoever. We might see, because there's extra subs to be used, we might see some of these players getting substituted off at 80 minutes, locking in that clean sheet. And if their team then scores a goal, concedes a goal, our clean sheet is already locked in. So arguably, defenders, despite the fact that they have not increased in price at all, arguably have got cheaper defenders this year, they're going to be even more valuable than ever. Even more valuable than ever. It's going to be quite mad. Sorry to keep answering this. For those of you who are stuck, just been in this stream the whole time, you're probably sick of me saying this, but I know people keep asking who are kind of perhaps just joining, but yeah, I'm predicting that the FPL is probably going to launch on Tuesday lunchtime. I don't have any inside information. Nobody does. But it would be a good guess to say midday on Tuesday UK time, possibly. But hopefully that does that. Thomas Heaslip says you need to transfer Mount as Chelsea triple up bad. Is Chelsea a triple up bad? Look at their fixtures, man. It's ridiculous. Everton, Spurs, Leeds, Leicester, and Southampton. Phenomenal fixtures. The game hasn't even launched, so I'm not going to pretend this is my final team. I'm not even going to pretend this is anywhere near my final team. Nicolaus says, is 243rd the best rank you've ever had? Yeah. I mean, it's the best rank. It's like so many people have ever had. Like that. You say that as if I could beat that. I will never beat that rank. It's ridiculous. It's something like, we worked it out. Like, a rank of 243rd last year was something like in the top 0.00004% or something like that. It really is quite staggering because there's over 9 million players playing FPL. There'll probably be 10 million players this coming season. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm never going to beat that rank. And you know, if you guys are following me, if I'm completely honest, if you guys are following me expecting that I'm going to finish 243rd again, it's not going to happen. It's really unlikely. Obviously, I will try and make it happen. I will do my best. But you know, I'm not going to expect to hit that again. You know, quite crazy. Matthew Hull says, "Hi Dan, what kit are you wearing?" This is the Arsenal blackout shirt that they released. Score draw released last year. About this time last year, just before the Euros. Purely Buying says, just what was about to say. This way you can buy cheapies that will play a few games due to another player's injury, and then you sell. Use this price increase as a stepping stone for better players. I kind of get what you're saying. Stian Siring says, want to save 2 free transfers and not 1 like now. I mean, like, I kind of feel like saving transfers at the beginning of the season probably is not going to happen because we're going to be learning and getting new information so quickly, and we're going to have to adapt quickly to that. I'm definitely not advocating for, you know, taking -10 hit. Well, -10, there's no such thing as a -10 hit. -8 hits and -12 hits in the first few game weeks. But you know, I feel like you've got to keep up, move with the template kind of thing for the first few game weeks. We're going to see some incredible things. Every season we see random emergencies of players. Like, there'll be a player who no one saw doing really well, suddenly doing really well. I mean, sometimes we manage to predict it ahead of time. Other times, like, most people just will not see it coming. Like, for example, Benrahma last season. Very few people, well, I say very few people, though people who watched a lot of preseason content, like I watched a lot of preseason football last year, so I kind of saw Benrahma was just absolutely flying in preseason, so I thought I'd take a punt on him early season. But like 90% of people would just never have seen Benrahma coming. So in those first few game weeks, you kind of have to use your transfers to get those players in that you didn't necessarily expect to do well, but ended up doing quite well. Niaz says, which player would you consider to switch out for Mount right now? I mean, Diaz at 8 million, if I didn't have Robertson, would probably be a really good option. Diaz is my favourite 8 million midfielder for sure, but I just like Robertson more, to be honest. 8 million midfielders, let's have a remind. I mean, Saka is 8 million, isn't he? I would consider Saka. I'm not like really confident about him, but I mean, I would be open to that. Bowen at 8.5. I'd have to shuffle things around a little bit, but that would be okay. Who else is 8 million or there and thereabouts? You could do a formation switch and go for Havertz. Maybe go for a Leicester player. There's options. Some people are considering Mahrez. I'm not really. Foden, I think I would think about Foden, to be fair, at 8 million. I just always worry about rotation with these Man City midfielders. It's quite risky. At the beginning of the season, it's quite risky to go for rotation players. Flying Pig says, why not Virgil van Dijk instead of Robbo? They bring the same points, 0.5 less. I don't think they do bring the same points, really. I think Robertson brings more points. People like Van Dijk is always so popular in game week 1, and then he just suddenly drops off throughout the season. People go mad for Van Dijk in game week 1. He's always like 30 or 40% owned. And then you look at like all of the expert teams and all of the YouTubers teams, and no one has Van Dijk. And you kind of just end up thinking, who are all of these people who have Van Dijk in their team? Because he's at 40% ownership, yet every team I've seen online, nobody has him. Who are these people with Van Dijk? But to me, certainly, it's definitely worth spending the extra 0.5 and going for Robertson. I do think Robertson is better, takes more shots, puts in more crosses, does quite well for bonus points. Was actually one of the highest scoring players in the second half of last season. Outscoring, the likes of... I think he outscored all other Liverpool players, to be fair. I think he was the highest scoring Liverpool player in the second half of last season, which is quite crazy, really. CC says, will there be new chips, do you think? I think possibly, yeah. I think possibly. Flying Pig says, check history, and now with 5 subs, Robbo will have even less minutes. If that's what you think, like, I'm not going to try and convince anyone, to go against their gut and go against their own feelings. But no, certainly, no. Robertson is certainly one of the first names of my team sheet, to be honest. A player I really rate very highly. But that's just me. Like, if you feel differently, then that's completely fine. It's completely fine. I guess we'll see. But that's the fun of FPL, isn't it? Different opinions. Nicolaus says, do you think Haaland will start the first game? I do, yeah. Yeah. Patrick says, Ruben Diaz over Laporte. I don't know. I don't think so. Laporte is slightly better kind of aerial threat, scores a few more goals, gets the odd assist as well with his passing and, knock-ons and stuff like that, flick-ons. So, yeah, I slightly prefer... If Laporte and Diaz come in at the same price, Laporte is the one I go for. Dally Paul says, Correa nailed if he goes to City. I don't think so. No. He'll rotate. There'll be a rotation between Cancelo, Cucurella, and Walker as well. So I don't think so. Ardy says Robbo gets more points spread out, but Virgil van Dijk generally gets the same points because defenders get more points for goals than assists. Robertson gets his points consistently, which is what I like about him. Van Dijk gets like a random 15-pointer, for example, there. But I think per game, Robertson is coming in much better than Van Dijk, and also in the second half, because Robertson missed a couple of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games he missed. So, actually, if we go points per game, I'm just going to work this out now. 186. How many games did I say he missed? 7. Or was it more? Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, he missed 9 games. So he played 29 games. 186 divided by 29 equals... Oh, I've done this completely wrong. 186 was it? Divided by 29 equals 6.4 points per game. Van Dijk missed a couple of games as well, to be fair. Was it what? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So, guys, remember 6.4. Remember 6.4. So, Van Dijk missed... how many did I say? He missed 1, 2, 3, 4 games, which means he played 34. 183 points divided by 34 games. Wait, did I say he missed 4 games? Yeah, just making sure I've got this right. Equals 5.3 points per game. So, thank you guys for remembering 6.4 in the chat. Robertson scores 6.4 points per game. Van Dijk scores 5.3 points per game. So there is a difference. There is a difference, and that to me is more than enough justification. More than enough justification to spend the money. Leon says not 29, it's 27. Oh yeah, wait, is it? No, it's not. If you play 38 games in a Premier League season and you miss 9, that's 29. Maybe my maths is failing me. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm right. But there we go. There's some maths to and some evidence. I guess you got evidence is always good to give. And there's some evidence from my end why Robertson is a better pick than Van Dijk. People are saying 20, like, how, that doesn't make any sense. Am I going mad? 38 minus 8 is not 27, it's 29. It's 29. Oh, honestly, I thought I was going... I thought I'd lost half my brain cells. To be fair, I am a little bit hungover today. I went to a nice festival last night. I had a few drinks. I didn't think I'd lost brain cells. I don't think I bumped my head. Let's have a look at some of these questions. Citizen says, Son, if 11 million or 11.5 million, are you going to buy? Yeah, probably. If he comes in at cheaper than Haaland, I'm probably going to switch Haaland out for Son, to be honest. I know I like the idea of going for Haaland, but Son is, proven, trialed and proven. Look at these guys throwing in some random numbers in the chat. Oh, you can't get me now. I've got the calculator out, boys. You can't trick me anymore. Haaland, at 11.5 million, it's a very good price. But if Son comes in at 11 million, then that is an even better price. An even better price. Dovu says, how do you get an A in maths? I mean, I was right, to be fair. I was just questioning myself. Ben Watson says it's 29 until it turns 30. That's how it works, and that's so true. FPL Aiden says, why not have both Haaland and Son? It means sacrificing Salah, or it means not going big at the back. And I will definitely be going big at the back. I will say this all pre-season. If people want to triple up and go for Salah, Haaland and Son, then fine. It's not something I'm ever considering. It's not something there's any chance of me doing. Because it means, one, you're spending money on players you're not going to captain. The only reason Salah is worth 13 million, people say all the time, oh, why get Salah when you can get Diaz? He was going to score almost as many points, but it's so much cheaper. But you're not going to captain Diaz, are you? Salah is worth the extra money, and these premiums are worth the extra money because you're going to captain them. Haaland, similarly. Some of these fixtures that he has like Bournemouth and Forest in these first 5 games. Both at home, I'm probably going to captain him. 2 good captain options. Salah in some games, Haaland in some of the other games. Son, on the other hand, if I added him into the mix, I'm not going to captain him. If I had Salah and Son, I'd captain Salah some game weeks, Son some game weeks. If I had Haaland and Son, I'd captain Haaland some game weeks and Son some other game weeks. If I had all 3, I would be barely captaining. One of the 3 I would be barely captaining. And a player is not worth over 10 million really if you're not ever going to captain them, to be honest. That's just my opinion. That is what makes the players worth so much. And also, like I say, the big at the back thing, you can't, if you're going to go for 3 premium forwards, attackers, midfielders, whatever, it means you're going to have to sacrifice a Trent or a Robertson or a Cancelo or a Reece James. You're going to have to make a big sacrifice in defence. But that's just me. So, if you want to do it, go for it. It will not be something I'll be doing. Herodotus says Fulham players overpriced. Yeah, I agree. Well, actually, I don't necessarily agree. I don't think Fulham players are overpriced. I think they look overpriced because so many other players are underpriced. If Arsenal defenders were 5 million, then we'd be considering Fulham defenders at 4.5 million. Well, maybe not quite that far, but we would be more open towards it, right? You'd be more open to it. Like a reminder of the website that I'm using, it's fpl.team. If anyone wants to go and have a go at making their own draft. Jeremy Baker says, "Well, damn, there goes my draft." Oh, Jeremy, were you on the threemium. The 3 premiums. The threemium. If so, fair enough. I mean, look, I'm absolutely never gonna try and tell people how to play FPL. I can give advice of what I would do personally, but I can't tell you what's best for you. I can't tell you what's going to get you the maximum amount of enjoyment out of the game either. And that's got to be an important thing. If you just want to pick those 3 premiums because it sounds more fun, then, like, go for it. Like, honestly, I fully back that. I love that. I love that people play FPL for fun. But unfortunately for me, fun is behind. This is a job. Now, I love it. I absolutely love it. But I love winning, which doesn't happen very often. But it did last season. YRZ Play says, go rate our teams on Twitter like Raptor. We could do some ratings of teams. I don't mind that. Or maybe we'll do like a dedicated rate my team stream. Maybe we'll do that. Like do like a dedicated time slot. We'll keep these quite general because I'm only going to be here for another 25 minutes anyway, and some of that time is going to be spent talking about the new price reveals, which is, remind me guys, who is it going to be? Southampton. So we'll go till 4. Then we'll talk about the Southampton price reveals a little bit, and then we'll disappear off for another day and come back tomorrow. I know I said I was going to start today's stream at midday at 12. I absolutely didn't. I started at 2 because I was really hungover this morning. I'm not going to lie. But tomorrow is a new day. A fresh? That's not a word. A fresh start. So tomorrow we are going to stream at midday up until like just after 2. And then on Tuesday, because I think the game is going to launch, I might just stream all day. Like, genuinely, I might stream for like 8 hours. Like, and just have like an absolute crazy FPL launch party. I don't know, is that something you guys would be interested in? Like, I'm not expecting people to stay for the full 8 hours or anything like that. But, you know, it might be quite nice to just have some live FPL content going all through the day on launch day and make it a bit of an event kind of thing. Just an option, just a thought. Probably should remind you guys, if you wouldn't mind liking the stream, it really, really helps out the channel. It doesn't take too long to do. Little click. Really appreciate that. It helps push out my content to other people, which I really appreciate. And also, we're quite close to 119,000 subscribers. I reckon we could hit that today. Let's have a look. How close are we to 119k? Yeah, 13 people. Please get me to. Where's the? Can you get like a live counter? Where's a live sub count? Who is Z Music Company? FPL Mate. I just want the live subscriber count. Dally Pool says, yes, mate, Marathon Tuesday. Let's do it. Let's do it. This is not the exact number, though. Where can you get... Does anyone know a live counter for YouTube subscribers that tells you the exact amount? Dynamite Don says, do you think with the lower price points there is a chance they give us a 5th sub to counter the prices? Yeah, we kind of spoke about that a little bit earlier. I do think it's a possibility, yeah. It is a possibility. I think it's very, very unlikely, don't get me wrong. But it's a possibility. Louis says, or Lewis, not sure how you pronounce your name, Mr. Connolly. How much do you think Perisic will be? I think 6 million is probably the right price, but seeing how cheap everyone is, he honestly could come in at 5.5. He honestly could. If Perisic is 5.5 million, there is no way I'm going without him. No way. 6 million, I'm probably going to have him anyway. 6.5 is when I start to say maybe not. FPL Buddy says, do you watch F1? No, I don't. Everyone watches it, and I really should get into it, shouldn't I? There's that documentary, isn't there, that apparently a lot of people watched, and it really got them into F1. So maybe I need to watch that. Was it Race for Life? That doesn't sound right. It's something like that. Ride or Die? Race or Die? Drive or Die? Something like that. Maybe someone in the chat can remind me what the documentary is, and I'll go check that out. Tyler says, what do you reckon Walker Peters will be when revealed? He'll be he should be 4.5 million based on current trends. Drive to Survive. Thank you, guys. I knew it was something like that. Miguel says the documentary isn't even good. Damn. Jeremy says, with 5 subs in the Premier League, what would be the point of an extra sub? Hope they don't do that. Yeah, it does seem a bit pointless, doesn't it? I really don't think they're going to add a 16th player. I really don't think. Louis says, defender or midfielder, do you reckon? I hope they list Perisic as a defender. I never fully trust FPL because I know a lot of their decisions are made, without a brain. Just with algorithms and stuff. So, based on last season, Perisic played as a left wing back last season for Inter. That's where he played. So, but also typically Perisic has been known as a midfielder, as a winger. People have kind of known. Perisic is actually a forward, for Croatia. He plays as a forward. Yeah. People saying that Drive to Survive is not very good. Okay, but are you looking at that from someone who was already an F1 fan? I'm kind of talking about Drive to Survive as an introduction to F1, which I need. I mean, I watched F1 as a kid, but I haven't really engaged with it for the past 10 years. FPL Tactics says you can just turn on video from this race. You'll see why is the race quite mad? Is it all going crazy? I know there was is the protesters thing happening today? The protesters on the field. Is that why? Is people like watching this stream and F1 at the same time? Maybe I've streamed at a dodgy time. Dynamite Don says, yeah, it'll be good as an intro to F1. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm after, really. I just need to remind myself. I don't really even know many of the races these days. I used to know all of them when I was a kid. But I just not engaged with it for so long. Kimi Räikkönen, is he still about? Jenson Button, he was good. So far at 4.5 million is insane. Yeah, I don't know if it is insane. It certainly makes 4.5 million defenders at Fulham and what will be Bournemouth later today. It certainly makes those 4.5 million defenders look quite silly. But I think Sofal could potentially be rotated with Johnson. Johnson's obviously a young right back that they want to bring through at West Ham. And they're probably slowly trying to integrate him. Is Bernardo Silva at 7 million an option? Maybe. It's not that. It's not a player that I think, I must buy him. Like Bernardo Silva, second half of last season, completely dropped off. Wasn't he doing really well when KDB wasn't in the team? And he was kind of taking the KDB role in a way. Danny says, is there a confirmed date for FPL release? No, there's not. They never do. By the way, guys, have you guys seen the rumours of Jude Bellingham going to Liverpool? That's pretty big news. If that happens, that could be like the most insane transfer of the summer so far. Probably bigger than the Haaland one, because we kind of knew the Haaland one has been coming. We knew it well in advance that was going to happen, so it wasn't like, whoa, crazy. But this Bellingham one seems to have come from nowhere. We knew Liverpool were interested in him, but the rumours are circulating more and more that he might be signing this summer. Don't know. Don't know. Liverpool fans, what do you reckon? You excited by that prospect? And I don't think it'll be an FPL option necessarily, but he's going to make those other Liverpool boys even more of a bargain. Even more of a bargain. Ahmed says, what do you think Maddison's price will be? I think he'll be probably 7.5 or 8 million. Probably. Ardy says, I'd be so gassed if we got Jude. I wouldn't blame you. Light says, what did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Jude Bellingham to Liverpool. Potentially. Lionel Messi. I assume this is the real Lionel Messi in the chat, just checking out some FPL content. Haaland and Salah make up 24.5 million. How will the team be balanced? Well, in my team, I mean, look at it. This is like an insanely stacked team, and it's got Haaland and Salah. Now, spending around 25 million on two players is not uncommon in FPL. Like, that's pretty standard. Two premiums in a FPL squad is pretty much standard, and then you rotate captaincy between them. That's just been how people have typically done things, a trialed and tested way of playing FPL. Never give up FPL says, wouldn't mind Jude Bellingham to Liverpool, but not for 120 mil. Why not? It's not your money. Or is this our Liverpool thing? Liverpool have this obsession with the fact that they never spend money. They're so proud of the fact that they never spend money. And if you tell Liverpool fans that they've spent money, they'll say, no, we haven't spent money. We don't spend money. We sold Coutinho, remember? We're just spending the Coutinho money. Well, still, it's been 7 years. Yes, we're still in profit. If you look over the last 40 years, we're in profit. Okay, I mean, you're a big team. You're allowed to spend money. Like, all big teams spend money. Arsenal spend money. You know, Man City spend money. Chelsea spend... No, we're different. You spend money, Liverpool. Get over it. Get over it, and it's fine. It's fine that you spend money. Like, we don't care. All big football teams spend money. Where is this obsession with Liverpool fans of refusing to accept you spend money? Like the things I was saying, like I was seeing on Twitter, like when Nunez signed, because obviously he signed for a lot of money, which is absolutely fine. Like I say, Liverpool are a huge team. They're only the Champions League winning team, they're Premier League winning team. Only in very recent seasons, they're fully well within their right to spend money. But when Nunez signed, Liverpool fans were like, "Oh no, we're just spending the money we got from selling Mane," and then you're like, "Okay, it doesn't quite work out, but fine." What about Diaz? Oh, no. We signed Diaz with the money from... And then we'll list another player they sold. Like, come on. You spend money, it's okay. CC said big teams, then said Arsenal. Arsenal are a big team. Get over it. They are one of the richest clubs in the world. They're one of the most supported clubs in the world. Just because they don't have amazing results all the time doesn't mean they're not a big team. Come on. Lights says, I don't think it's an argument that we don't spend money. I think it's just that we have a business model that we don't spend without selling, if that makes sense. If you look at all of our big signings, it doesn't, like, but you do spend money, and that's absolutely fine. If you're winning things, you're performing at the top level, if you're one of the biggest clubs in the world, it's okay. It's okay to spend money. And you do. And I don't really know why. I never really completely understand. Crispus says, Dan, just end the stream. You're waffling. Well, yeah. I've got 10 minutes to fill till the next price reveals. So, Dynamite Don says, we did sell Solanke for 20 million. I'm not having this conversation. Yeah, but whatever. Suman says, Arsenal, joke of the year. Really? Do you see Manchester United season? Arsenal probably overperformed last season. Nuisance says Neto or Martinelli. I like them both. Take your pick. I mean, I like them both so much. I've got both of them. Marcus says, have you considered going with 2 playing goalkeepers from the start? I have in the past, but I'm not, last couple of seasons, I'm not really that interested in rotating goalkeepers. From when I have ever done it, it's not really worked out. And 0.5 million is a lot of money at the beginning of the game. I know it doesn't seem like very much money, but you're probably not going to benefit from doing that. Even if you are rotating your goalkeepers and playing some in certain games, you know what inevitably happens is the goalkeeper on your bench randomly gets a clean sheet against a team you didn't expect it to happen against, or gets a load of save points against a team, a strong team, because they're playing a strong team. They take a lot of shots. They end up getting 4 points, 2 for playing, 4 for, an extra 2 for getting a load of save points. And your other goalkeeper, even though their team did well, they conceded 1 goal, ends up with 2 points. So that kind of thing happens all the time. It's just, I don't think it's worth it personally. So I'm not going to I'm not going to personally advocate for 2 goalkeepers. Jason says, any Newcastle players you think could be worth it? Certainly Burn and Cher, depending on which of the 2 is starting regularly. That could be pretty nice. Who else from Newcastle? Wilson at 7.5 is not the worst in the world, but I'm probably not going to start the season with him. Thoughts on Kulusevski? I've spoken about him a little bit already this stream, so I'm not going to go over him again. Mark Nash says Bellingham to Liverpool will be summer 2023. Yeah, I thought that as well initially, but the rumours are ramping up that that it could be happening this summer. So get excited, Liverpool fans. Frank Nitti says, hello from America, by the way, and congrats on your last season. Thank you so much. AB says, Callum Wilson if fit. He's not bad. He's not bad. But it's the problem is the fixtures. Newcastle's fixtures, Nottingham Forest at home, Brighton, lovely. But after that, Man City, Wolves, Liverpool. He has a shelf life of 2 game weeks, and you're pretty much booking in a transfer, which you don't want to do. You want to be free. You want to be free to make transfers to bring in the inevitable emerging talents of the new season. You want that freedom, the freedom of transfer, I guess. So I don't really like booking in transfers. NH says, so true about Liverpool fans. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. FPL's Sake and Bake says, Newcastle keeper worth a shout. I mean, until we saw Mendy's price. Well, until you see Mendy's price, yes, but Mendy at 5 million is so good. Pope at 5 million could be pretty good. But let's get past these fixtures for Newcastle first. Let's get past Man City, Wolves and Liverpool. Pope is potentially a first wild card kind of goalkeeper. Whereas Mendy, for these opening fixtures, it seems very obvious to me. If it seems that obvious, then just do it, typically. Dynamite Don says, are you excited about Gabby Jesus coming? Yeah, pretty excited. Lewis asks how much he'll be in FPL. Maybe quite, not quite, maybe like 8.5 million, 9 million. Somewhere around that. A few people saying Lloris, if he comes in at a good price. If Lloris comes in at 5 million, then yeah, Lloris suddenly competes with Mendy. Doesn't he? But Mendy does have better fixtures. But I'm not against Lloris, and I'm not against him at all. If he comes in at 5 million, something tells me that because he was the second highest scoring goalkeeper last season, wasn't he? That he probably will actually come in at the 5.5. Yeah, second highest scoring goalkeeper. So if we're going by, pricing players by points increments, that puts Alisson, Lloris and Edison at 5.5. Sa, Fabianski, Ramsdale, De Gea, Schmeichel, Pope, Mendy, Martinez at 5 million. And it puts Sanchez, Guaita, Pickford, Meslier, Dubravka, maybe, Raya, all at 4.5 million. So I think Lloris will be 5.5. And if he is 5.5, I'm not considering him. If he's 5, he comes into discussion, into conversation with Mendy. Jason says Mendy and Sanchez from Brighton rotate really nicely, I think. Fair enough if that works out. But, I mean, what if Mendy plays against Spurs and keeps a clean sheet and gets 9 saves? It is so possible. But you'll be benching him. And you'll be playing Sanchez at Brighton, who in the same game week plays... Wait, is it? So in the same game week plays Newcastle at home. Newcastle, good team, vastly improved, could stick 3 goals past Brighton and you wouldn't be that surprised. Probably won't happen. Probably might like 2-0 or something like that to Newcastle. You wouldn't be surprised by. And suddenly you've got a 1-pointer from Sanchez and a 10-pointer from Mendy. So it's so possible. So possible. Which is why I just can't be bothered. I think Trippier will be great this season. Yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Trippier is a good price. I'm not rushing to get him, but he's certainly okay. Ahmed is doing a countdown. We've got 3 minutes until the next price reveals. We're going to get Southampton. People still asking me when FPL will launch, and I'll keep answering. I think it's going to be Tuesday. There is nothing guaranteed. Jeremy says get a 4 million Matt Turner and Hip. And Hip? Who's Hip? Matt Turner is probably not going to be 4 million. He's probably going to be 4.5 to be fair. The more I look at this five at the back of team, the more I like it. It's actually quite nice, isn't it? We should get some playing 4 million defenders. Maybe. Last year, I remember we got Tsimikas. Last minute, we found out about Robertson getting injured. Tsimikas was listed as 4 million. So Tsimikas, for 4 million, you got a Liverpool defender who was just like guaranteed points basically for 4 million. It's just crazy. So yeah, we always get like the emergence of some random 4 million players, 4.5 million players that are actually okay. And I'll make sure that I'm doing plenty of research to try and identify those players. Chris says, you're clearly a good manager, but that team has no flexibility. You're right, and that's the one thing that puts me off the 5-4-1 formation. Is why most of my drafts have, and we're nowhere near finalised, guys. Don't think into that too much. Think into the team you see too much. But yeah, certainly 4-4-2 has that more flexibility that I do like a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm probably going to wildcard around game week 6, 7, 8. And if I do, then it doesn't really matter about flexibility too much. I mean, I certainly shouldn't sacrifice a team I really like for the sake of flexibility. But just loads of decisions to be made. Loads of decisions to be made. Jason says we need to find the new Lundstrom/Dallas of the year. You're so right. You're so right. And are you guys in the chat have you been playing FPL for long enough to remember the heroics of Lundstrom? Heroic. People asking about Laporte again. I mean, Laporte, I just don't think I'm going to end up on Cancelo, to be honest. I might end up on Cancelo by game week 1 deadline. I just don't think so. I just don't think I will. Ollie Horbury says if Undav is playing, 4-4-2 flexibility isn't really a problem. Well, no, it's more about structural and transfer flexibility. So, for example, if I wanted to upgrade Undav, like say, for example, Callum Wilson had a flying start, looked like the best player in world football. In order to get Callum Wilson, I'd have to remove a defender and remove probably Undav or Greenwood. I don't want to do the Greenwood one. Undav is not close enough to 7.5 million. Really, I'd have to downgrade Reece James, for example, or Perisic, all the way down to a 4 million defender. So I'd lose a playing player. And so 2 transfers, so taking a -4, losing a player, just to do one thing. And that's where there's not very much flexibility. Right, guys, it's 4 o'clock. We should be getting Southampton right now. We have it. Right, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do it our usual way. We're going to go player by player. We're not going to look all at once. Ward-Prowse 6.5. Dub or L? Is he even going to stay at Southampton? I think that's quite good, actually. I think that's a good price. He's one of those players that ticks along really nicely. You never know when he's going to score the FPL points, but he's just going to bang in a couple of free kicks randomly at some points in the season. So if you stick with him, he's okay. Ward-Prowse is only a good FPL asset if you stick with him. If you get frustrated with him and remove him from your team, or if you're the kind of guy who or girl who is happy to, who wants to like take him in and out of your team, probably not the one for you. But I think that's a dub. Yeah, chat reckons it's a dub. Chat reckons it's a dub. Walker Peters 4.5, L or dub. I think that's about right. Again, I think Walker Peters. Oh, some people saying L for Ward Prowse by the looks of things. Walker Peters, I think is. I think that's about right. It's quite a nice price. But again, like, are we gonna pick him or Tomiyasu, Ben White? Maybe some of the West Ham guys, Wolves guys, Brighton guys. Don't know. It's the right price, isn't it? It's the right price for him, let's be honest. And if Southampton manage to sort out their defence, which I'm not particularly hopeful about, Walker Peters offers some really nice attacking threat as well. So I'm giving that a dub. You guys in the chat agree, that's a dub. All right, finally, Adam 6.5. L dub or mid? 6 point. I mean, again, like, who are you gonna? You know, you're probably not gonna get him. Probably not gonna buy him for 6.5, are you? If it was 6 million, we'd be considering him. But all forward prices are just dumb anyway. That's why no one wants forwards. No one's gonna have forwards in their team. I think this is an L. But it's an expected L. In fact, I would have expected FPL to price him at like 7 million, to be honest, knowing them. But like, I'm not gonna buy him probably all season, which is not what you want. You want a situation where every player's an option, and he's not really an option. So I'm giving him an L. Guys in the chat reckon mostly L's and mids. L's and mids. So we're not too impressed with Adams at 6.5. All right, here's the rest. Oh no! Everyone wanted the Basuno at 4 million. We wanted the Basuno at 4 million. They've given him 4.5. Bednarak 4.5. Bella Kotchap. I have never heard of that football player in my life. Is this a new... I mean, it must be a new transfer, right? I must have missed this one. All right, I'll do my research after the stream and have a look and see what Bella Ketchup is all about. Did you say Bella Ketchup? Bella Kotchap. Oh. What do Italians say when their tomato sauce is beautiful? Bella Ketchup. All right, Perraud. 4.5. Yeah, about right. But I mean, in terms of Southampton defenders, it really is Walker Peters or no one. I mean, where's Livramento? It's a shame they didn't do him. Came from Germany, highly rated youngster. Okay, where does he play? Centre back. Yeah, centre back. Salisi 4.5. Yeah, we're probably not going to go for any of these defenders other than Walker Peters. Armstrong 5 million. That's pretty cheap, actually. Oh no! I've just seen Romeo is 5. Oh. Well, that's annoying. He's usually a 90. Romeo, every season he's 4.5. Let's see how many consecutive seasons has Romeo been listed as a 4.5 million midfielder. Been a great go-to 4.5 million midfielder. Right, let's look at previous seasons. Every year, other than 2011, 20. So for 10 years. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 years. For 8 years, he's been a starting price of 4.5 million, and he gets an 88-point season, and is apparently a justified upgrade to 5. That is a huge L. A huge L. We don't like that. We don't like that one bit. We're going to have to find a new 4.5. You know what? I'm going to make it my mission this summer, guys, to find us a 4.5 million. We don't have Brownhill anymore as an option. We don't have Romeo anymore as an option because he's not 4.5 anymore. We don't have Douglas Luiz. I know people are picking Douglas Luiz at the moment, but I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to play very often at all for Aston Villa in the new season. I think he could even potentially be sold. I think he could be. I don't know if he'll necessarily even be at the club come game week 1. So I'm not going to suggest him. We're going to be on a bit of a mission. I'm really hoping Morgan Gibbs-White comes in at 4.5. He was 4.5 last season, but something tells me he's going to be 5, or maybe even more, depending on how trolly FPL are going to be. But it's pretty crazy how we've all been saying, oh my word, all these players are so cheap. And then suddenly we get Romeo at 5. Cesar says, there's no way Alan stays at 4.5. Potentially, he could potentially stay at 4.5. Gordon, David Brooks, yeah, these guys are not going to be 4.5 million. No Ramsey anymore. He's 5.5. Alanga is 5 million. I can't. Kushao, I'd love to say Alanga is a dub, but at 5 million, I can't. Was he 5 million or 5.5? I can't remember now. But yeah, certainly not a 4.5. Benjamin says, just get Bruno from Newcastle and drop down a defender. Yeah, but this is going to be a bench player. Your 4.5 million midfielder will just sit on your bench and do pretty much nothing. FPL Steak and Bake says, hey Dan, any views on the biggest FPL change this year? 5 subs in the EPL game. I spoke about it a little bit earlier. Yeah, feel free to rewatch the stream in full because I think there was some good chat actually earlier on in the stream. We had some good kind of debate. So yeah, I won't go over it again, but I don't think there's going to be any changes, to be honest, personally. Never give up. Yeah, 5 million. Alanga 5, cool. Dewsbury Hall, not going to be 4.5 million anymore. No Sissoko now, damn it. Yes, no Sissoko at Watford. We're losing a lot of 4.5 millions. Small Peach Rolf says, left the room, and you may have answered this already. Mount or Maddison? Well, we don't know Maddison's price yet, in fairness. If they come in at the same price, I'm leaning towards Mount at the moment. Elanga is great for the price range of 5 million, definitely. But if you're going for a player who's primarily going to sit on your bench and only come on in absolute emergencies, you just want a 4.5 million midfielder, don't you? Dynamite Don says, are we going to struggle to get a 4.5 million playing forward? Definitely. And we do every year. Bissouma, I think the fact that Bissouma has gone to Spurs, they might put his price to 5, which would be annoying. Is he nailed anyway with Højbjerg there? Gilmore? Depends. Where's Gilmore going to be? He was at Norwich last season. He's back at Chelsea now. Is he going to get another Premier League loan maybe? Is he going to be sold? Is he going to stay at Chelsea maybe? Al Barona says, unless you go 3-5-2, yeah, but I don't think anyone's going to be going 3 at the back this season. There's so much great value in defence. It's just not possible. Dewsbury Hall is not going to be 4.5 million. Gordon is not going to be anywhere near 4.5 million. Elmaz says, all this drama for players whose ceilings are 2 points. I know. It's crazy, right? When are the prices for Spurs players coming out? Tomorrow at 10 a.m. UK time. Next price reveal which team? Should be Bournemouth. Bournemouth at 6. There probably won't be any 4.5 mids this season. There will be some. I just don't know if they'll have any good ones. Liam says, Dan, is Foden a good option this year? I don't mind him. I'm not against him. Certainly not against him. I'm considering him. The rotation risk scares me a little bit. Raphael says, Reed. As in... Reed, who used to play for Fulham. Does he still play for Fulham? Maybe. They'll be starting mids promoted to at 4.5 million. Sorry, 2 sneezes in one stream. There we go. Vic Vinegar says they'll be starting mids in promoted teams at 4.5 million, like Billings and Yates. Yates at 4.5 million, I probably don't mind too much. MacArthur at Palace is a good shout. Billings won't be 4.5 million. He'll probably be like 5.5. Mohammed says, you didn't answer me, thanks. I wouldn't make any remark after that. Not sure what you mean, my friend. not sure I saw your chat anyway. I probably should mention, like, I know you guys are chatting in the chat, and I do try and read most of it, but my chat is filtered, so I don't see absolutely everything all the time. So I do apologise if I am missing your comments. Cole back for 4.5, yeah, maybe. I assume Saka is a no-go this year. I don't know if Saka is a no-go, but 8 million is not like... Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. I do feel like that Saka could actually... I mean, he had a good season last season, really. I mean, if we're looking at midfielders around the 8 million mark, Saka is in the region of... he's in the region of Maddison. He's in the region of Jota, in the region of Mount. He's nailed on, unlike some of the other guys. He had a good season, good scores. Couple of banging games. Took some penalties as well towards the end of the season. So I think he's going to be Arsenal's new main penalty taker. Obviously got to double digits goals, 9 assists. And I think that Jesus coming to the club is actually going to make Saka better as well. So, I don't know. I think Saka could be okay. Jesus, I think, will go on pens. Really, though? He wasn't on pens when he was at City. And do you get to come into the club and immediately take the pens? I don't know. Saka is a no-no for that price, says Kushal. Maybe. Abdo, Jesus will be a better option than Saka. I don't think so, no. Jesus will get less points for doing the same things as Saka and will be priced more expensively. Joseph Green, ASM back as a midfielder is now defo an option for Newcastle. I agree. Badgers get a bad name, says Jesus has a poor penalty record. Okay, I knew he didn't take penalties very often, but I mean, I'm not completely surprised to hear that news. Andrew says Saka 8 million is not too much if he plays like last season. I completely agree. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have, even though I'm an Arsenal fan and even though I like, it excites me, I don't think I will be going for Jesus in terms of FPL. Ardy says Martinelli or Saka on pens. I think, yeah, you've correctly remembered that the last penalty of last season was, well, that Arsenal took was in the final game week against Everton at home. I know because I was there. Martinelli wins a penalty and I've got Saka in my team. I'm thinking, oh, Martinelli's won this penalty. And then I just kind of watch Martinelli kind of not really leave the ball. He just kind of has the ball and he moves the ball to the penalty spot. And I'm thinking, oh no, Saka's going to get this. He's going to give it to Saka, right? Didn't happen. Yeah, Martinelli took the penalty. But I wonder if that's because Saka didn't miss any of his penalties. So there's no reason to take Saka off his penalties now. Martinelli did take that penalty in the final game, but he won the penalty. So I wonder, and by the way, guys, I've got Martinelli in my team. Well, in my current draft. I wonder if Martinelli takes the penalties that he wins, and then Saka takes the others. Or maybe there becomes a rule where if Martinelli wins a penalty, he takes it. If Jesus wins the penalty, he takes it. If Saka wins the penalty, he takes it. Don't know. I guess we'll see. But I'm guessing we'll find out a little bit more in pre-season. We'll read into managers' comments as much as possible. But I would probably suggest that Saka is still the main penalty taker at Arsenal, for sure. Kushal says, Havertz as a striker might be a game changer. I don't hate it. Liam says, best goalkeeper this year to start with. I think Mendy, so far, I think Mendy is the one. And Gray is suggesting some rule changes about subs getting half points. I don't know about that. Andrew says Martinelli won the penalty. It was the last game and it wasn't important. Saka is on pens. Yeah, I pretty much echo that exactly, Andrew. I pretty much agree with you completely. Could Bernardo Silva be a good Mount differential? I guess he could, but I wouldn't be very confident about that one. Citizen says Salah or Diaz, or take both. Definitely Salah. You have to take Salah. For me, it's Salah, Trent, and then choose between Robertson and Diaz. Choose one of Robertson and Diaz, and that's it. Done. 5 subs going to make the game more tough. Yeah, possibly. Right, guys, I think we're going to call it a day there. We've been going for over 2 hours. somehow we've managed to fill 2 hours with FPL chat. You know what, guys? I am really enjoying doing these streams and chatting to you guys every day. It gives me something to do. It gives me some purpose. It makes me feel like I have friends. If you enjoyed the stream, friends, please like it. It really does help me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't done already. Have we hit? We did it. We hit 119,000 subscribers, so that's wicked. I mean, still subscribe if you haven't done it already, but we've done it. 120,000 next. That's the next aim. Maybe we'll do that soon. Let's see. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys joining me again. Lovely to chat with you all. We're going to do the same again at 12 midday tomorrow. I will wake up on time this time, I promise. I don't promise, but I will. I'll make sure I schedule that and post it on Twitter as well. Yeah, basically, I'll see you for some more price reveals tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.